Okay, let's switch gears now as we talk Islamic finance. So much interest has been generated in Islamic financing on a global scale because of its phenomenal growth within a relatively short span of time, and more especially as an aftermath of the recent financial crisis. We're now being joined in the studio by the head of Securities and Investment Services at the SEC, Mr. Abdulkadir Abbas. Good morning, Mr. Abdulkadir. Thank you so much for your time. And last week we tried to get your point of view as regards how Islamic financing has been in Nigeria. So let's just go straight to the point. There is a framework that is already been put together by the SEC. Just tell us more about that.
Thank you, Bolaji. As we started discussing last week, if you talk about Islamic financing in Nigeria, we're talking about, basically three sectors: Islamic capital market, Islamic takaful, which is the insurance, and Islamic banking. And all these institutions that are being regulated by various, regulators, three regulators, SEC, CBN, and NICO, they actually came up with a kind of robust regulatory framework. This framework is actually geared towards encouraging, having these products in place. For the SEC, which is the capital market aspect of Islamic financial products, the journey started from 2002 when we actually joined a committee of ISCO. And in 2004, we now came up with an in-house committee that will now try to encourage, this kind of product to, come on board. In addition to that, two interesting things happened. In 2010, we actually came up with a rule on Islamic fund management. What is that rule talking about? It's talking about how do you now encourage ethical fund to be set off? How do you regulate this kind of funds? And in 2013, the SEC came up with a robust regulatory framework for issuance of corporate and subnational sukuk. Sukuk is an Islamic bond. So in terms of the landscape, I can say that we have a very good, robust regulatory landscape by all the key regulators in terms of encouraging or enhancing this kind of product. And the essence is just for financial inclusion, because there is this misconception about why are you trying to now, advertise or advocate for these products. It's actually geared towards financial inclusion.
Okay,
yes.
Financial inclusion, who are those you're trying to bring into the financial market space?
Great. There are a lot of, monies in the informal sectors. A lot of people doesn't want to invest in the market because of the issue about ethical or religious, tenets or belief. A lot of people doesn't want to invest in an interest yielding instruments. So how do you now balance off? To strike a balance is to be able to now encourage issuance of this kind of products. And it's, as you said, it's global. Remember, the asset of the Islamic asset has actually grown to 2.1 trillion as of 2015. Which is really very, very, significant from, how it started before. And there are a lot of interest, not only in Nigeria, globally, is an area that a lot of countries are trying to tap. And we at the SEC, with other stakeholders, have really seen that, opening. As a matter of fact, you remember we have a 10-year master plan. There's a blueprint that was developed. That blueprint was incorporated in the 10-year capital market master plan, which was launched last year, and we have begun implementation.
Okay.
It's a robust document which, dovetail into strategies, how to really defend this. And, just to give you a flavor, what we're looking at is that by 2025, this Islamic capital market segment should be able to contribute to at least 25% of the overall market capitalization.
Of the Nigerian capital market.
Absolutely.
I would like to talk about the issue of religious sentiments, because we all know Nigeria is a multi-religious society, multi-racial society. How does the SEC intend to bring everyone on board? Because whether you're Muslim or Christian, whoever you are, you want everyone to be part of it. But how do you want to address that? How do you want to convince people that this is not just targeted at one sect or another sect or one particular set of people in the country?
Absolutely, because, part of our own developmental role is to try to now, open up, the market in terms of giving, basic regulation. We have rules on conventional products, and we have now rules on ethical and Islamic products. And all this is geared towards, trying to encourage everybody to come on board. If you want to invest in
under the Islamic finance, you see how the conventional and how the Islamic.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, some of the investors of the conventional instrument are investing in the Islamic product as well, or ethical funds as well. And remember, this thing didn't start in Nigeria. Back in 1920s, the Methodist Church in UK actually come up with a position that they will not invest in what they call sinful companies. Sinful companies, not that they think they are committing sins in court. What they mean by that is that they will not invest in companies that are into alcohol, gambling, or tobacco. So if you look at it conceptually, even on the religious basis, the basis about this is like a kind of socially investment outlet. That is what we are trying to create. And there is that misconception in Nigeria. And how do you address it is to have massive enlightenment, massive awareness campaign, to be able to now show the Nigerian investors that this landscape is not just for Muslim alone, it's for everybody. And look at even what is happening, even for the banks. The Jais Bank, for instance, they have conventional, customers coming into their fold, and they have other people that are inclined to religious belief to invest in that. And likewise, even in the fund management that we have 5 Islamic funds or ethical funds, registered with SEC, with an asset value of about 7.5 billion as of last year. Most of these investors, if you look at their profile, they cut across. So really, what we need to do is to continue with that robust enlightenment, which we have in our master plan.
Okay, let's talk about your partnership with the DMO, because you and the Debt Management Office have gone ahead to say, okay, we need to work together. How do you want that partnership to work, really?
I told you about, this is a kind of holistic approach. It's not only for the SEC, because SEC will now regulate corporate and subnational issuances. But the benchmark issuance, which is the sovereign sukuk, and that is last week, there was a high-powered meeting. Our DG, the SEC DG, and the DMO DG met, and then a position was taken in terms of how to now move forward. The meeting commit to now look at possibility of issuing sovereign sukuk this year, and we committed to now come up with a blueprint, a concept note for issuance of that sovereign sukuk. And this sovereign sukuk, if you look at it, it's not only Nigeria. UK, for instance, they have issued $300 million sukuk. Luxembourg, 200 million. South Africa, they have issued $500 million sukuk, which was even oversubscribed, 4 times oversubscribed. Senegal have issued. Hong Kong have issued $1 billion sukuk. If you look at the area of these countries, the Muslim population is even very negligible in some of these countries, but they have tapped. And that is what we need to do now. And what we need to do is to try to align it with even what the government is doing. Trying to finance the deficit, and financing deficit towards critical infrastructure. Okay, so we believe this sukuk is going to really contribute significantly. Our approach with DMO is really going to work, and is going to now pave way for issuing sovereign sukuk, which will serve as a benchmark issuance for other corporate and subnational. In addition to attracting foreign investment. We understand that some state governments actually raised bonds, sukuk, a while ago in Nigeria. But how do you think that can help, really? Do we have enough from the Islamic bond now, because it's sukuk, yes, Islamic bond, to fund the huge capital that we all want to see developed in the country? Yes. Do you think that avenue is enough? Can you provide the enough funding that we're all looking at, based on the fact that the sovereign bond can be raised in that regard, and also state government can also come to raise money from the market? Absolutely. What we did is to try to now address the entire value chain, both the supply and the demand side. By the time when you come as an issuer, Osun State issue a sukuk, and if you look at that sukuk, the initial offer size was actually 10 billion, but they end up raising 11.4 billion. It means there is a market, there is demand. In fact, what we are even having now is like, look, where are these products? Because most of these people that invested now, they just bought to hold. Okay. And there are a lot of states that are willing to issue this product. Okay. And what we are trying to say is that by the time when you have the sovereign issuance now in place, it will serve the desired benchmark, which others will come. And in terms of market, remember, apart from the conventional investors, we can be able to draw money from offshore investors as well. Into the sukuk. Absolutely. So really, for us, there is really the demand for it, there is market for it, And FENCOM, we are now discussing with them to issue what we call multi-fund guideline that will enable this pension fund to be invested, part of it to be invested, yes. Because one good thing with sukuk, before I forget, is that it's actually asset-backed or asset-based financing. We're talking about infrastructure, for instance. And look at what is happening. Dubai, for instance, that Dubai airport, that with the second airport, is actually built with the sukuk proceeds.
Okay, Mr. Abdulkadir, there's a whole lot to talk about. I'm afraid I won't be able to take more than this time. But we really appreciate your comments and your contribution on Islamic finance. So we hope, of course, to get more from the SEC going forward related to how Nigerians can really benefit from this. Thank you so much for coming on the program.